Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. You know, my channel is not a political channel, and I rarely even discuss political matters. But in this current election season, there are some things that I would be very remiss, particularly things that will have a tremendous impact on seniors, and I just feel compelled to address them. Again, this is not about politics per se, but it is about issues. And I don't think I'm being overly dramatic when I say some of the issues that are at hand during this election could make a difference in the life and death of some seniors. Come on and join me, and I'll explain in more detail exactly what I'm talking about. Before I go any further, I want to issue a warning. The purpose of this video is not to support one candidate over another or one party over another. It's to address issues. And anyone coming on and making comments like have happened in the past, oh, F this person, F that person, or this person's rotten, I will delete your comment, and depending on how inappropriate it is, I may block you from making further comments on this channel. So again, I'm asking you, keep your remarks appropriate and to the issues, not specific candidates. First of all, let me just say that when I'm talking about this election, I'm not only talking about the election for president, and that's the election that for most people has gathered the most attention and has been something that more people are talking about than probably any other election. But every election, whether it's the Senate, whether it's for Congress, whether it's for gubernatorial candidates, whether it's even for your local city council, these elections are crucial to seniors. And let me explain why. First of all, many politicians have been talking for years about coming in and changing Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, and also Social Security. In one report, I read that in order to stabilize Social Security by 2030, that the projections were that they would have to reduce, not just future payments, but they would have to reduce present payments by 33%. It was either 30 or 33%. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but a lot of politicians are looking for ways to cut back Social Security, and cut back on Medicare and Medicaid. And this could have a tremendous impact, not only on seniors, but on everyone in terms of programs that provide health care for those that are on low income. But let me start with explaining how this works, and I'll start from the very top, the president, all the way down to your local government officials who are going to be elected. Medicare comes under the auspices of the Department of, I believe it's Health and Human Services. Well, it is Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services, the Department of Health and Human Services, from my research, determines what Medicare will and will not pay for. So that is critical, that department has oversight and determines what will and will not be paid for through Medicare on a broad federal scope. The Secretary of the Department of Human and Health Services is nominated by the President. So it's really important to know what a future president's views are on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and these topics, because they're going to be nominating the person who will have oversight over the department that runs CMS, and I'll get into that in a little later, but basically over the department that's over Medicare. Then the Senate has to confirm the president's appointee to Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services. So it's not just important that you know what a future president's position is on Medicare, it's also important that you know what the senators in your state's positions are, because they will be the people who are either confirming or not confirming the president's appointment. In addition, a branch of the Department of Health and Human Services is CMS. I'm going to look at my notes here if you don't mind. CMS stands for the Center for Medicare and Medical Services. That person who's over that, the administrator, is also appointed by the president and has to be confirmed by the Senate. Why is that position so important? Because they oversee the more local aspects of Medicare and Medi-Cal and Medicaid, and also determine what are reasonable and necessary procedures. So if you have a procedure that your doctor, who knows you best, says that you need, or if your doctor says you need a insulin pump rather than insulin shots, or just any other procedure that is necessary, if they disapprove, they meaning Medicare disapproves that, it will then go before a board which is under the auspices of the CMS, and again, they will determine if it's a reasonable or necessary procedure. So it's all connected, and that's why I say it could make the difference between life and death. Not simply it being approved eventually, but it being approved in a timely manner and a timely fashion that will get you the treatment that you need to possibly save your life. So it is very important that you know the positions of the individuals who you are voting for, not just for president, but also for Senate. But you know what? Congress also has a role in this. Although Medicare is funded in great part by a trust that's set up through the U.S. Department of Treasury, Congress funds in part the Part B and Part D of your Medicare. I didn't know that. They control the purse strings. Part B is for doctor's visits, outpatient services, and some other related things. Part D pays for your medications. Well, if you have to have chemotherapy, that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. In addition, as we get older, we tend to need more medications. So it's now not only important that you know what the president's position is on these different things regarding Medicare, but also your senator's position and your congressperson's position, because they control the purse strings for some of Medicare. Now, let me also give you this information. The gubernatorial elections are critical. The reason, among many reasons, that gubernatorial races are critical to seniors and people on low income is because of something called Medicaid expansion. Now, in all states, people can qualify based on the state eligibility guidelines in consideration of, I think it's family size, income, disability status, and a number of other factors. And it, again, varies from state to state. And if you meet all that criteria, then you could qualify for Medicaid. In states that participate in Medicaid expansion, it has nothing to do with your household size, your family structure, any of that. It's simply based on your income. If you fall within a certain income or beneath a certain income threshold, you automatically would get Medicaid and you qualify for medical coverage. I think over a dozen have decided not to participate, which means that many of those individuals who would otherwise qualify now don't qualify. So if you live in one of those states, it's pretty important. If you have low income and you would not qualify under regular Medicaid, but you would under Medicaid expansion, it's important to know who would and who would not participate in that. Lastly, it may be even more important for you in your situation to know the position of different people running for office at your local level. Who do you think makes the rulings about whether or not a person can sleep in their vehicle or van parked on a public street? That happens at your local level. Those officials make decisions that, especially if you're staying in a same city on a regular basis, could have a tremendous impact. Some cities are so hostile, they even do where it's a cumulative footage. It's not based on simply how high or how long. They add up the width, the length, the height, and then they have an amount that you can't go over. And based on that, unless you're a small car, you can't park on the streets, sometimes at all, and sometimes from 10 to say 4 in the morning when you would typically be sleeping. You're not going to be bothering anyone, you're not harming anyone, but these are the laws that they enact. You live in a city where the city council is mindful of rent increases and may control the level of increase that can occur. I've heard of people who had rents that were maybe $1,000, and the very next time they went to renew them went up to $4,000 or $5,000. So do you have people who are you electing to your city council who have some level of empathy towards low-income individuals and controlling what landlords can do to raise their rents outrageously? Again, this is not about trying to tell you who to vote for. I would never do that. That's a very personal decision. But I am asking you to get out and vote and to make yourselves aware, to educate yourself on the issues, especially those that impact seniors. If you have someone who's talking about reducing Social Security payments to those who are already receiving payments, you need to know that. If you have someone who's talking about increasing the age to collect full Social Security till 75, like one of my commenters wrote was being considered in Great Britain, you need to know that. Because if you're 61 and you're just holding on by a thread till you get 62 and you can take early Social Security, this could have a devastating impact on you if all of a sudden the marker is moved. So anyhow, I hope this has given you some food for thought and given you some encouragement to find out about those that you're going to be voting for during this election season. I hope your journeys are filled with joy and blessings. Love each and every one of you. And I will be doing some cooking videos coming up this week, so a little lighter topic and subject. See you all later. Bye-bye.